known association, right? Like a change in frequency. Previously, it was a rare occurrence, and now it's more frequent, or change in the severity. Previously, there were no fatal fatalities, but now we have observed some fatal outcomes. Right? So this is our overall journey of signal management, and where does signal prioritization fit in? So signal management, it begins with signal detection, where we look at multiple data sources. Our detection strategy could be quantitative, qualitative, or a combination of both. This is followed by validation, where we check if the potential signal warrants further investigation. And then validation and prioritization generally goes hand in hand together, happens simultaneously. And at prioritization, we decide whether the signals we would be what signals we would be reviewing first, right? So it's followed up with evaluation or assessments, where the valid signals we want to either confirm or refute them, right? I mean, if it's confirmed, then it goes further for this categorization and recommendation, and based on what is the categorization recommendation, the whole bunch of downstream activities get triggered. Now, here, let us look at the challenges commonly we face in this overall journey of signal management. The first is the scattered sources. So we have to refer multiple data, or leverage or analyze multiple data from different sources, such as the safety database, literature, label, epidemiology, external agency, adverse event systems, reporting systems like FAIRS, evidence, and also keep a track of the potential risks being evaluated, like the PRAC recommendations we have. And Dr. Shiva also highlighted that this SRS is not just enough. We also need the EHR, how use of electronic health records moved from delay to discovery, right? So that's your additional source. And not all these are in consistent format. Hence, there has to be pre-processing or harmonization before performing this extensive analysis, right? So some of the non-exhaustive list of analysis which we need to perform include the quantitative, the qualitative analysis, the ICSR, bulk review. We look for confounding information, like we analyze literature as a source of signal as well, or to both for generating positive or negative correlation as an evidence for our drug event pair. Again, label review, we have to perform check for listedness. So, and then again, we have the different reporting and the regulatory obligations which we have. So if we have to summarize all these, we have to perform diverse analysis on diverse data from diverse sources and give the outputs in different diverse formats. So there are several solutions which are available in market at present, which helps us address through all these challenges. In green, I have flagged which can be addressed with automation. So for example, this scattered sources, right? We are aggregating, and the harmonization of data, it's an engineering work. And then analysis, AI fits in. The yellow piece is the AI piece, which comes in, fits in mode. We could leverage it from an analysis per point of view. And again, what Dr. Shiva mentioned beautifully, right? It's not that you can't use it. You really need to use it at a particular step, right? That's what we bring in AI. So although we have several solutions, one available in one uncharted area, right? Or what we could say that there could be a scope of we could do things in a better way is the signal prioritization. Right? So let's look at signal prioritization a little bit more. So it implies that all signals will be reviewed, but some are going to be reviewed more faster. Because why? Because we do not want something significant to get delayed and ultimately impact the patient safety. So we need a way to, or find a way to cut through the volume and noise in order to ensure our compliance. Now, what does GVP Module 9 tell about signal prioritization? So it suggests to evaluate based on patient or public health impact and risk benefit profile of the drug, and it it summarizes or gives the following factors as bullets to be kept in mind. Now, let's, for example, take a fictional drug event pair, right? Cardioxin and severe liver injury, severe liver injury, to understand these. So, say, for example, there were 15 cases altogether, and among them, there were 3 required liver transplant, and there was also a fatal outcome. So if you look at the first point, severity, seriousness, outcome. So seriousness is high, and there's a limited reversibility because it was also irreversible in some cases. Now, next, is there a potential of is it preventable? So probably it is possible, right? If liver enzymes are monitored early. And then next we look at the exposure, right? Say cardioxin was prescribed in nearly 500,000 patients annually, and out of them 15 cases of liver injury, although rare, 3 out of 100,000, given the amount of exposure. But the absolute number of cases would still warrant further examination, right? Exposure in vulnerable population or a unique usage pattern. Say there were cases occurring in elderly patient, right? So say out of the 15 that we had, 10 were in elderly. So signal has a disproportionate impact on the vulnerable population, which also elevates the concern. Now, what is the consequence of what is the consequence of discontinuation and is there any alternative which is available? So if we stopping cardioxin may lead to say worsening of heart function, and alternatives are available, but they might not be as effective in severe cases. So stopping does have a serious disease implication. Is the extent of regulatory intervention needed? So regulators might require label update of liver monitoring recommendation, or then probably they could say limit or restrict the use in elderly patients. So this signal may lead to important safety communications or risk minimization measures. Again, the next point they say is the class effect potential. So is this going to be only drug specific, or is it also going to apply for other products in the same class? Now again, media attention also raises the urgency of investigation, right? So prime example of signal prioritization influenced by public and media pressure. In addition to the clinical risk was the AZ COVID-19 vaccine and the risk of the embolic and thrombotic events, right? Firstly, in mass immunization, we have limited alternatives as well. And also a lot of media attention that was going around, and the fatal outcomes were also being discussed. So which also poses the risk of vaccine hesitancy. So if you have to summarize, then we looking at the high seriousness or the media attention, elderly vulnerabilities, signal has to be prioritized. So if we have to sum up our GP module 9 considerations, that would be in a nutshell. Now, SIOM's working group 8. So this also talks about similar points. It breaks it down to initial prioritization and the further or the additional prioritization. So in initial, it says that the purpose is to determine which signals require immediate attention. And then it also talks about the key determinants being strength of evidence, medical significance, and potential public health impact. And it speaks about impact analysis. We'll take a look at this separately on a slide. And in the initial prioritization, it says that we check for new or serious adverse reactions, medically significant, is it again severe, irreversible, fatal outcomes, designated medical events, and then events of high public health impact, and easily retrievable data suggesting a relationship with the drug. Right? Example, a positively challenge. And the second, how it breaks down the further prioritization. So again, the additional considerations which are recommended here are vulnerable population, high media attention, reports from multiple countries, and the political obligations. So let's look at the impact analysis. So it uses a scoring system to evaluate signals based on evidence and public health impact. So guiding resource allocation and reducing subjectivity. So two aspects to be considered: evidence score. So evidence score, it assesses the strength and the biological plausibility of signal. So it's based on disproportionality, strength, and the biological. So what is disproportionality? Based on measures such as PRR, strength of cases, the positive re-challenge, temporality, biological plausibility, existing pharmacological or mechanistic understanding that supports a causal link. Again, the public health score, which assesses the potential impact on a broader population. So if the drug event pair has high evidence and high public health impact, then the priority assigned has to be immediate evaluation and high priority. And if it is, say, low evidence and high public health impact, or high evidence and low public health impact, then it could be of moderate priority. But if it is both low evidence and low public health impact, then it could be of lesser priority. Now, again, this is one more calculation system, the regulatory pharmacovigilance prioritization system by MHRA. It takes into consideration the 4 points. You'll see the gist of it, or the crux of it, remains the same. They all talk about the same evidences. Okay, so let's take a look at the current solutions available and how they are supporting risk-based prioritization. So what do we need? Like, first is that signal ranking. We need to have provision for signal ranking. So more recent tools do support, or they do have provision for sorting the potential signals based on the strength. So there are a lot of statistical algorithms available, and you could just, the higher the score, so that there is provision you could look at, and based on the score, the strength also could be established. There are tools which are supporting signal clustering. One such example which I've seen is tree scan approach is being used to cluster based on the MEDRA hierarchy. So where it clubs the different terms, the lower level terms, it aggregates, and then the decision is made on the p-value at each and every level. So different clustering options are also available. And then they also have the provision to bucket the cases for us. So use temporality, or de-challenge, re-challenge, and alternate etiology. And then it could be a simple trending based on the information available in the data sets, or any further insights. They could also leverage it from the narrative. So there are tools which are available, which are already facilitating in achieving these, right? And then comes, you look for supportive cases. They first identify the markers, and then they also bucket the supportive cases. And then flagging of fatal outcomes. Say, for example, it hasn't met the threshold, but still, if there are fatal outcomes, probably it might be of interest. So they do flag such drug event pairs associated with fatal outcomes. And then seriousness based on the IME is also possible, or based on the seriousness criteria assigned. Also, the recent tools are able to trend, and label integration has also been done in several advanced tools where they flag whether the PT is available or discussed in the product label or not. Thereby you can prioritize your serious unlisted adverse events. And then DME, so it's comparison between the designated medical events terms. Is the PT matching with it? And then it flags those DMEs as well. Then review traceability, audit trail. Most of the tools are away, or have this provision for audit trail. And next is real world data. Many tools are leveraging literature and epidemiology, but fewer on the electronic health or the claims. There's still some that still remains an area which is to be explored further. But literature is commonly being used to support signal prioritization, where it looks for the causal statements. It looks at the PubMed, and PubMed is available for integration, and it looks at the drug event pair, and it flags also the causal statements. So the more recent tools are already have these features. And then comparator analysis, where you need to look at your class product. So there are tools which perform the different disproportionality from publicly available sources, fairs, and so that you could just compare your some your suspect with your comparator product. So all those features are already available. And continuous prioritization is also mentioned as a requirement, but more than a technological challenge, I think it's more of optimization for computational efficiency. So I mean, it's like I want real-time dashboards, but I look at it only monthly, right? So do we really need to have a need for most of the tools are you have the provision for near real-time analysis at the moment. So it's for the SMEs and the business to uh, discuss with the technological team on what is the actual need so that it can be optimized accordingly. So although we have recent tools that I spoke about and having most of these options and features supporting signal prioritization, so where is there is an gap or an area where we could use all the information, right? The medical reviewer has to still go and look for these information, but we could there is an potential for consolidation and creating an automated recommendation framework, right? So this could be a way forward. And agentic AI is definitely comes with like Dr. Shiva mentioned that now the models are highly evolved and developed and robust, and the challenge is more from a change management perspective. So agentic AI is definitely could help us here in this area further. Right? Now, in um, so in an attempt to create a risk-based AI scoring model. So I've just split the parameters, right? So what we've seen so far in the SIOM's working eight group or eight recommendations or the impact and all the different recommendations, I've broken it down as the parameters as level measurable criteria, right? So so there would be an agent assigned to look at each of these parameter, and this is just my personal project. It's just a recommendation, so I've assigned a score between 0 to 3 for each of the parameter, right? Say for example, if the let's take the first one, right? So say if the drug event pair meets the threshold, say for fares, EMA, and the internal data source, so definitely it would warrant or get the highest score of 3. Right? Say if the second one of re-challenge, if the positive re-challenge is definitely gets the highest score. So similarly, if there are fatal or unlisted events, or the uh, presence of literature as an evidence, if there is closer time to onset, if they are confirmed, medically confirmed, right? Medically confirmed reports. So all these would warrant or be assigned a greater score. So once the agent looks at all these individual parameters, then we could also go to the next step of using a weighted approach. Let's say, for example, the most important ones for me, based on my data type or therapeutic area, we could say that the first two are needs to be assigned a 20%, then the next four, say a 10%, and the last four, a weight of 5%. And this could be adjusted based on products or therapeutic area. So how could a potential agentic workflow be envisioned? So on the left hand side, we see our different sources that we need to analyze. So there will be so you see the listings or your product labels, literature, epidemiology. Then comes you have a data pre-processing or a harmonization layer using it prior to your quantitative or the qualitative analysis. And then comes our agents. So our clinical evidence agent, this will generate the score on sections uh, relative reporting or the re-challenge, seriousness, time to onset, then the reporter type, credibility, then countries of incidence, basically all the insights that need to be generated from the case listings. Then comes the novelty agent. So this would work by looking at the labels, the risk management, or the aggregates for previous awareness. And the literature agent, it could look for the causal text related to the drug event pair, with obviously, as the name suggests, looking at the PubMed or the available literature references. And then finally, there could be one reporting or the scoring agent, which does the consolidation. And there could be a rules-based scoring and prioritization. So what you can expect as your agentic output. You can see the absolute scores against each of the parameter with the total and the priority classification. You also see the justification, right? Again, reasoning or the explainability. Again, that you could request for more information. You could ask for a confidence score for each and every assignment done. So all those are provisions which are available. So there is a reasoning section coming after. You see the priority being assigned. Say, for example, cases from a geographic distribution. Okay, there are cases from both US and EU. Then the PRR is greater than 2 and in FAIRS and EMA. So the disproportionality. So it's of highest priority. So similarly, it would look for, based on what are the parameters that you have set, it would perform its analysis accordingly. So you can also visualize the summary in a tabular view. I mean, all your interesting topics, signal topics, it could look at the different parameters and give you the consolidated absolute score along with the assigned or the proposed recommended priority level. So I'll just play a short video. So like Dr. Shiva said, so I use synthetic line listings, right? That's the starting point of analysis. And then the agents start looking at the data, and epidemiology claims or epidemiology data is not available with me. So that's not just included. Move it further, but let me just forward it a little further because it did take over a minute to complete all the analysis. And then you can see that the report generator agent has also started doing its work. Yeah. So what you saw in the previous table was just an absolute score. Here I've also assigned the weights to it, and it also gives the weighted score along with the classification. And then to the extent of details or reasoning you would like it to provide, that's always possible. And you use it as a enabler, right? AI, it's never going to use or a supplement a medical review. It facilitates your job, right? Rather than applying multiple filters, look for the information, it's going to bring all the information into your platter. So I look at it as an enabler. And even the regulations always talk about bringing the human in loop, right, of the assessments. So this could definitely be a potential where we could leverage agentic workflow. So how does a 5-step roadmap look like if we have to go ahead and automate our process? So first, we define our parameters. You align the risk criteria with the regulatory requirements, and then assign weights to the individual parameters. And then definitely we need to define what are our data sets we are going to use. And then run shadow mode, compare AI versus the manual triage, and then deploy the systems. Always have the medical review an option to accept or refute or make his or her recommendation on the AI-based recommendation or suggestion. And audit trail is already a part of the different features we have. So in summary, if we look at our overall signal management process, our sources are scattered, they are unstructured, and they are complex. The analysis is complex because of the volume of data involved as well. So, and again, we need to be compliant with the requirements. We need to present the data in a particular way. We need to have the entire validation package ready, right? It's all extensive documentation that needs to be in place. And then definitely the solutions help us by integrating the data, performing complex analysis. I'm sure you'll be seeing in upcoming sessions as well how they are using AI for literature analysis, how they have automated signal management process. You'll be looking at advanced tools which are already available in the market. So they help us with advanced analytics, and they are helping us generate the insights on risk benefit profile of the drug, and definitely the different reports that you need to generate, and your administrative jobs it could facilitate. And with use of, by leveraging technology or AI, definitely it helps you better and quicker patterns and anomaly detection, risk-based prioritization. It could enable and continuous monitoring of safety signals, helps you be audit and inspection ready. You don't have to uh, just be prepared, start preparing when an audit or an inspection is announced. And these are solutions which are scalable, and there are different tools already available in market. And when the volume also increases, right, when the volume increases, we are able to adjust, the AI is able to adjust with the increasing number of products or the volume of data. And ultimately, let's not forget, our ultimate goal is to make safer drugs and safer patients. So I think with this, I'll conclude. It's time to move from reactive systems to risk-driven strategies, and let's build systems that prioritize, help us in prioritizing our signals and making the life of our medical reviewers much easier. So with this, thank you, Balaji, for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for your patient listening.